Thank you.
I'll call this meeting of the Costa Mesa Sanitary District Boards of Directors, regular meeting, Monday, October 24th, 2022 to order. And I'll do the Pledge of Allegiance, and Vice President Schaefer will do the invocation. Please follow me, place your hand over your heart. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation. If you'd all bow your heads and reflect for a moment, please be with all of us this evening as we deliberate and make decisions on matters that come before us. Be with those who are sick and those with troubles in their lives. As we approach Veterans Day, ensure peace on those who sacrificed in their service to our country. Amen.
Amen. Roll call, please.
President Robert Uten,
Here.
Vice President Michael Schaefer,
Here.
Secretary Arlene Schaefer,
Here.
Director Brett Eccles,
Here.
and Director Arthur Perry.
Here.
Thank you.
Do we have any announcement of late communications? Or do you see any hand raised? So we'll go on. I don't believe there are any ceremonial matters or presentations. Do we have anyone that wishes to speak in the public comments? I don't believe so. So we'll go on to the consent calendar. Does anyone, does any director want to pull one of the items, or do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the consent calendar as presented.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Public hearings, I don't believe we have a public hearing this evening, so we'll go on to the general manager's reports. First one is the 2022 annual performance measurement report for the third quarter of this calendar year. Do any of the directors have any questions about this item? Do I have a motion?
Receive and file, Mr. President.
It's a receive and file, so forget that. We'll go on then to the receive and file of the 2020-25 5-year strategic plan progress report. Again, this is for the fiscal year 2022-23, and it's the first quarter report. Do any of the directors have any questions? And do I have a motion then?
Receive and file too, Mr. President.
Yeah, how quickly we forget, huh? We'll go on then to next item is the first review of the draft agreement with CR&R. Scott, will you lead
Thank you,
this?
Mr. President. Yes, we will talk about this item. You might recall a couple of weeks ago on October 13th, staff presented to the board bullet points, negotiated bullet points that was agreed upon by staff and CR&R for a future amended agreement to our existing agreement with CR&R. We've informed the board that we would be bringing this back to you on several occasions for continuing discussions and any suggestions on the agreement. In your attached staff report is the first draft agreement, what it would look like, that has the bullet points that we discussed back on October 13th. Again, tonight, we are just looking for comments or suggestions, directions from the board. After tonight, then we will, staff will forward this agreement to District Counsel Alan Burns for his formal review. And then he will also be communicating with CR&R's attorney. So if there's any amendments, they will be communicating with each other, and we will bring those changes back to you on a future date. The goal is to present to you the final draft agreement on December 19th for your approval consideration. But before then, plan on seeing the agreement maybe once or twice, a few more times to get your comments. So happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do any of the directors have questions?
I had a comment. When we were looking at what CNR is presenting this to us, actually, there were two comments I had. One was nothing, at least if I can be corrected, but I didn't find anything as saying a banner would be on the trucks.
That's on the original agreement. So the original agreement, that still applies in the original agreement. That's
So
still,
it will happen.
yes, correct.
Okay, and it would say Costa Mesa Sand District. Okay, that was one. And the other one was, when you get to the trash cans, I had a comment on that it will be closed. You know, on the cans, they're supposed to be
Yes.
closed,
Yes.
but can we really, really try hard on that? Because it hasn't happened. Now, I've had so many people complain because they feel that once the trash is done,
Sure.
it's never flipped over. So maybe they just need to have some kind of lesson on it.
Well, for CNR's defense, it happens at my house too in Orange. I mean, my carts, my lids are flipped open at times too. So we can stress to CNR to try to do their best effort to keep the lids shut. But if we were going to require the drivers to get out and close the lids and all the homes, then it's going to slow down their services, and we really don't want to do that. But we'll remind CNR to remind their drivers to try to
Right.
do their best to keep the lids shut.
I just figured these comments could go into councils looking at what's going on the next issues.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. That was it.
Art?
Okay, Scott, on this first part, it says the new carts will have a RFID code that will allow our staff to track when carts are emptied.
Yes.
What about the old carts?
No, we've had that discussion. It'll just be in the blue carts, the new carts, or any new carts that are delivered. They can't put it in the old carts. It's just too labor intensive.
Director Eccles?
Thank you, Mr. President. Couple things. From 2 weeks ago when we studied this, there were 3 items that I think I specifically asked about, which was the extra cart revenue sharing and the basically the the 33 Orange County cities, all that. That was in our last staff report. And I think I asked if those were changes, and the answer was no. So that has been removed off this staff report.
They're in the original agreement. That's
Okay.
why.
Okay, just clarifying that. Okay. And then can someone just walk me through I was a little confused on the gray cart, the blue cart, the green cart, like a 65 versus a 90. Do you get two? Can you just walk me through that?
Sure. So right now, residents have 2 called gray or black cards. I mean, in the code, in the agreement it says gray, but you can call them black or gray. It's for the
Okay.
trash. Okay. And then right now they have 2 organic carts. They can get, or they can receive up to 2 organic carts, right? And those are all 65-gallon carts. So when we roll out the blue cart system, we're going to take away one of the black carts and replace that with a 95-gallon blue cart. Now, if anyone wants a 95-gallon trash cart or black cart or a 95-gallon green cart, they can get one, but it's on request only. We're not gonna advertise it. We're not gonna say, hey, it's available, but if they want one, it's available.
Okay, so gray and black being the same thing.
Yes, that
Right.
is correct.
Okay, simple. That confused me a sec. I was like, what? But okay, cool. And then and just a question on the performance review amendment about we won't use performance reviews to either approve or deny essentially COLA increases. Can you explain that one to me?
What's CNR does not want us to do is use the benchmarks that we did in the beginning of, I think, or 2021. I think we had those benchmarks. We did. They don't want to do that. The performance review that we do every year, if we give them unsatisfactory, then yes, the board has the right to deny a CPI.
Okay, and could we deny a CPI if they were satisfactory
Yes, you
too?
can.
So it's at the purview of the board to, okay, got it. And then big thanks, adding the community shredding events to the actual contract. That's really cool. So
Thank you,
I'm
CNR, for that.
appreciative of that because I think it's a great program, and at least the first one we did was awesome. And I'm sure they'll only get better. And then the again, I think just to clarify the timing of this 10-year and if I read the draft correctly, we're eliminating the current language and replacing that with either party can discontinue after that 10 years, correct?
Mutual agreement, yes. Yes. It's
So-
If they mutually agree to extend it. If they're not, then we can terminate it.
So that language is replacing the existing,
Correct.
okay, just making sure on that. And then, the other thing I had, well, I mentioned it last time, or I asked about it, about the penalties or the, 25 and then 75, blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna just mention again, because I personally don't like those rates being in there for two reasons. We don't know what the penalties will be in 2, 3, 4 years. Could be more. Could be nothing, could be who knows. So my recommendation is just getting the actual numbers out there and say the district can fine you for multiple violation, whatever legal language in there, and take out the rates. Because what if that's way too little? What if the state hammers us on penalties?
Again, that's up to you. We'd have to wait and see. Technically, if the state was gonna be unhappy, they're gonna go after the city and not us, and then most likely the city would try to pass it on to us. That's probably how it would work. But I personally, I think we need to have a fee in there because they're gonna want to see us finding residents. There are gonna be people having contaminations. They're gonna want us to show what did we do to change their behavior? What was that fine? And so right now we're saying $25, is the start, I think personally, I think that will change people's behavior because once you start getting 25, another $25, another $25, oh, now it's gonna be 120, they're gonna get tired of that. And then say, okay, I've got to do the right thing and stop contaminating my trash.
And I agree with you on that. It will change behavior once you start hitting the pocketbooks, but I still go back in this contract. Again, maybe it's way too little. Maybe the fines
I
that
think-
pile up. I mean, I don't-
I'd rather let's start off low. And if it is too low, we can always raise it. We're going into new territory here. We've never done this before.
Right.
So let's start out, like I always say, baby steps, right? Let's just start out slow. Let's go with the $25. That's what CNR, we agreed. We think that's what other cities are charging is $25. So let's be consistent with other organizations. Let's see how it works. Let's see how, and we always have the opportunity to amend it if we have to.
Okay, well, I mean, legally, maybe for Alan, I mean, we don't have to put the numbers in the contract. We just have to say, we will fine you. Am I correct legally?
We could do it in the policy.
Well,
Like, I'm thinking like the board in 3 years or 2 year, whatever it's gonna be, can set our own penalties or whatever. We don't have to put the numbers in here, do we, Alan?
I'm not sure, Director Eccles, I haven't reviewed the contract yet, but yeah, I'll look into that.
Okay. That just, again, it's not the end of the world, but it is a opinion of mine, at least. I say we put in, you're gonna get penalized. We just don't know what that's gonna look like down the road. That's just my suggestion on that. And then I think that's all I had. Oh, last question. These are the agreed to bullet points up to this point. Am I to assume there's still some negotiated points?
There could be. And so what we do, we would come back with you with a strike through. So you would see what changes we made in the contract. So yes, there is a possibility there could be some future amendments from today on to December 19th when you get the final report, final contract.
Okay, and is December 19th, is that date set in stone? I mean, if there's several different amendments to what we're looking at today, I mean, if it pushes to January 13th or
No,
whatever.
It can, if we push them, we need to push the agenda, we can do that. But we'd like to start off clean and with the
Right,
new year, that's the goal we're trying to hit.
okay,
But if we want to move to January, it's not a problem.
okay. Are we aware of any points that still need to be worked out at this stage?
I think staff and I, we still want to talk to CNR about the liquidated damages. There was some others on that. Also, I would like to have Alan review it. I'm sure he's going to have some comments and discuss it with their attorney. So there might be some additional changes to it. Yeah.
Got it, but more legalese and maybe some tweaks of language, but we're not gonna come back and see, oh my gosh, there's 5 more things. No.
Vision
Okay.
that, no.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, but I have another question about the carts. When do you think you'll start picking up the carts from the two they have to one? What time period are you looking at?
If we stick to the schedule, we're looking at probably the summer of 2024. Is when we start
So,
rolling out. the
ways
card.
away.
Yes.
Because I think that's going to be an important issue.
Yeah, we need to have the program implemented before January 1st, 2025. And so we're looking at probably doing it, summer, fall of 2024.
And we're going to give them a lot of notice before that.
That's what we're going to be doing for now on, pretty much.
I
Yeah.
think that's a sensitive issue,
Yes.
taking away the second cart. Because a lot of these guys have 2 or 3 or 4 carts.
Yeah, I think that's where the education is going to go, is that the recyclables that you're putting in your trash cart now goes in the blue cart. And so, again, if people are concerned they're not going to have, the car's not big enough, then we'll say, okay, well, we'll give you a 95-gallon cart.
And then next question is, what is the cost for rental if they want to keep the second cart? Is it a quarterly fee or
It's a monthly fee, just like it is now. I think it's $8 or $9 a month they pay.
it adds up to like $25?
Right. And
It's
then,
billed quarter.
It's billed quarterly.
yeah, Bill Corley, and we get 80% of those revenues.
When I first thought you told me that a couple months ago, I said, that's $25 a month. I go, that's not going to work. But
Yeah.
now it's $8, so I missed that part.
Right.
Okay.
I'm gonna just tag back to what Art was talking about with the serial number thing with the carts. So only blue carts will be tracking serial numbers.
Yes, they are.
So as we roll out all these carts, CR&R is gonna have a serial number on that cart. Okay, when you read the report, it doesn't specifically say just blue carts. It gives you the impression you're gonna inventory every single cart, as I read it. And I'm thinking, how in the name of nature are you gonna be, we can't do, there's no way. We don't even know what a lot of people have in their backyards.
Well, they are auditing the carts right now. I think
I get
the
it,
reports should be coming out pretty soon, so that's going to help. And then we're going to also upload that information in our GIS, which would be helpful as well. But just the RFID technology will just be in the blue cards.
Okay, I applaud that. I think that's really what needs to be done. It's too bad technology doesn't let us go back and figure out how to do it. I don't, are there serial numbers on my carts in my yard? Really? I don't look in there very often, so I have no
They're not
idea.
inside, they're outside.
Oh, the outside, good, that's good. And then one last little thing, and if I'm belaboring this, I really apologize, but I don't care, because this is a really thing. Nothing in here tells me we're gonna put a sticker on there that says, break your cardboard down. Have we agreed to do that?
I remember we talked about that in the
Nabila's,
past.
Nabila's smiling and shaking her head, so, I mean, and I apologize for being so. I don't use the word I was gonna use.
Anal.
I'm not sure I was gonna use that word either, but doggone it, when you drive around, and you guys know better than we do, when you drive through the neighborhoods on pickup day, it's amazing what people do with cardboard boxes. Come on. You know? Yeah, you see, the lids don't get shut because the cardboard holds them open, and it looks like the devil. So, okay. So thanks, Nabila. You made my day.
I don't think that the language is on the staff report, but I do believe that it made it onto the draft amendment that you haven't.
I'm happy. Thank you. Thank you guys for doing that. That's it.
Go ahead and then add.
Yeah, I have one question about moving it's the second bold item, CMSD will move from paying per tonnage rates to a flat fee for all services. I need an explanation, and I've asked CNR for an explanation of how that $24 plus, how'd they figure that? Because if I've been through the process where, I've been through this process many times. You use historical data to make guesstimates of where they're going. I need some language. I need to understand how that number was come up, how it came up with it. And we're in a situation right now, you know, I'm walking the precincts and I have for 4 or 5 years, and I increasingly see landscape changes that are water, you know, for water conservation. And all the data shows that we are experiencing a decrease in the organic tonnage. And we will continue to, and with this coming year likely to be a drought. And, you know, that'll be the 3rd or 4th year. And behaviors will begin to change, and people continue and are at an increasing rate modifying their, you know, putting in artificial turf and or water conserving landscape. I'm not comfortable at all unless I see how that flat monthly fee is to be calculated.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. And you and I've had that discussions, and I thought it was appropriate to bring this back for board study session November 8th. And so we will do that. So
Okay.
you can see the numbers.
Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had 2 more questions and that was one of them. So thank you. I'll be curious to see that as well. And Mike, don't make me shut down my cardboard. I like making forts. So, you know.
Set 'em on fire.
I think we ought to hand out box knives.
There you go.
Well, maybe not.
That could be ugly. But one last question. The CPI increase, again, capped at 5%. But instead of going every 2 years, they come back annually, which is fine, but to avoid the 218, they would come back with a projected 5-year. So if that happened today, what options do we have if that's in the contract here? Because what if we say, okay, we're okay with your first year at 5, but we're not okay with your next 3 years at 4 or 5? How do we manage around that?
But we could do just like we did with the wastewater rate, just approve like a 2-year rate increase, you know, and then come back to and discuss the issue at a later time. You know, we don't have to do a 5-year rate. We could do a 2-year rate adjustment.
So they can present a 5-year, request a 5-year, and we could deny 4 out of those 5 years. And then they come back the next year. Would that trigger a 218?
Anytime we do a rate adjustment, it's going to trigger a 218. That's why you want to do at least 2 years, because you don't want to do it every year. So I think at 2 years, we'd be comfortable with that if that's what it comes down to.
Okay. So I'm just hypothetical, come back with a 5-year, and then we say, okay, we're okay with you jumping it this year at 4.5, but next year you want another 4.5. We could vote to say, we'll approve your 4.5 this year and 0 for next year.
Correct.
We could do that.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
It's December 19th. That date is a board, we moved the board meeting up because
Yes,
of
it's on the calendar. Yes, yes.
It's not it's a board meeting.
It's a board meeting. It's been approved by the board earlier this year.
All right, I didn't remember that.
Do any of the directors have any more questions?
Mr. President, if there's no more questions from the board, I do have one issue I'd like to address with the board, and hopefully CNR can answer this question for us. So we've been having some service delays in the neighborhood, the Back Bay High School area. Director Eccles is well aware of this issue. Specifically on Monaco Terrace and Lucent Lane has been receiving repeated service delays. We're just not getting straight answers from CNR. So I was hoping maybe Julie can address this issue, what is causing the delays in those neighborhoods. So if Julie or Mike can address that for me, I'd appreciate it.
Did they know this question was coming up?
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, I can reply to it a little bit. We have been receiving a continuous call from Lucent Lane from one resident in particular, almost on a weekly basis. We've narrowed it down to being one resident. I'm trying to find out the root cause of what the nature of this one resident is. To me, it's confounding just because it is one resident in a small development that has approximately 30, yeah, I'm going by memory here, 30 something homes. We do get a call from that resident for either missed pickups or spills occasionally. Monaco Terrace, I don't have an answer for you right now.
So, and it's ironic, I used to live on Monaco Terrace, my first place, but the one right on the corner, there's the two houses that directly call me all the time, and Scott knows about these, and then there's a third, but they haven't reached out to me directly. So there's at least three right across from Back Bay High School. There's like, what, 4 houses right there, 3 or 4 houses. And they're saying, to me at least, their missed pickups have been ongoing. We rectified the first one I reported to Scott, who went through you, and then it was going to be kind of on a watch list. And then here, last several weeks, I've been getting hammered by these people saying, thought you guys were going to fix this.
We have a new route manager on for the area over there. I haven't received a response from, or a reason for those 2 homes. I know exactly which 2 homes you're talking about. Historically, we've had a problem there because there was construction. There was big construction at the property adjacent to that. Those 2 homes that you're referring to are literally the only 2 homes on that long stretch of Monaco.
Right.
And then there's the property that's been having a lot of construction, and then there's no other pickups on that street, especially on that side of the street, for probably several hundred feet, a long run. I'm not sure if that's the construction is a contributing factor or not. My assumption is yes, but I don't want to say that without knowing directly.
Can you kind of hot item this, because they're gonna keep calling, and it's embarrassing when I can't give them any answer. If you could communicate through staff and give us a little bit of assurances, because once or twice, okay, but it seems to be ongoing and I don't know what else to tell them, kind of thing.
Right.
And at the end of the day, let's get it fixed. You know?
Definitely. And the only comment I'll add, and I'm not sure Mike saw the email today. We believe we do have a performance issue, and the driver actually has been removed from the route and he's being replaced with another driver. So that was reported to us this afternoon, shortly before we got here. So I'm not sure if Mike saw that, but I did want to add that.
Am I okay to communicate that with the ratepayers?
Any problem with that?
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it.
Well, I don't know, if this is a little bit off agenda, but since we're talking about trash pickup, Mike, on Mace, there's the multifamily home. And the lady caught me this morning and said, it's not, there was a green cart there and it's not being emptied. It was after you and I talked, a month or 2 ago, and it's a multifamily home, and they have 3 or 4 yard, 2 or 3 or 4 yard bin, and then a green cart beside it. And for some reason, it's not yet quite on the route to be picked up weekly.
Speak to that. If you can provide me an address, I can look at that. With being dumpster service, that area is a combination of obviously residential and commercial, or multifamily of
Yeah.
4 or less, and then some of them are 5 or more. You stating that they have dumpster service tells me it's a multifamily greater than 4.
Yeah, there's
units.
waste management, CRNR and
Right.
others in there. And I think it's a fourplex. So I don't think any of those other vendors should be in there. But
If they have dumpster service, it could be any vendor. If it's a
yeah, but
dumpster.
this happens to be a CRNR,
Or
a
adjacent.
CRNR bin.
CR&R bin. then it
I've
would
known
be-
this lady for
It
a
would be
while.
a commercial account or a
It's a,
multifamily greater account.
yeah,
Either way, it would be a
well, I'll get you
would
the
be separate.
address.
Give me the address and we can
Yeah.
monitor.
I can tell
and
you
see
that
who's-
it's on the south east corner of Mace and whatever that street is that you go around. Anyway, I'll get you the address.
I can look it up southeast. All right.
Thank you. Any other questions on this item? And then Scott, you said this will come back to the next study session.
Come on, a future meeting. I don't know what date, but it will come back in a future meeting, yes.
And are you satisfied, Director Eccles, that, well, is there one item to come back for discussion, or is it all the items?
Well, we will come back on November 8th to talk about how CNR justified the rate calculations. We'll talk about that on November 8th.
Yeah.
But if there's any future amendments to the agreements, we'll definitely bring that back to you. I just don't know when. I gotta wait till Alan reviews.
Have you been satisfied, Director Eccles?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, then I think we can go on to the next item. And my computer's blank, so I'll look at the agenda. It got tired of that discussion. Okay, the next item is item number 4 under General Manager Report is approved purchase to acquire one new Vector truck 2021 combination sewer cleaning unit. And this is apparently one that was on back order and due at the end of 2023. And Haker's given us a one-time good deal.
Yes, if I can explain further, Mr. President. So, but November of this year, the board approved hiring a third cleaning crew and gave direction to staff to go ahead and place an order on a new combination sewer cleaning unit. That order has been placed. We knew that unit probably wouldn't arrive until July of 2023 due to the manufacturing of these heavy duty vehicles are taking longer due to supply issues. We received word that that unit would not be delivered until the end of 2023. So at least another year. So Haker came back to us and they are in the process of purchasing 2 units as part of their fleet services. They agreed to sell us one of those units, which I identified in your staff report. So you can see the difference identified in your staff report. There's the original order that we submitted was on 4/11/22. That's the one we originally ordered. And then the one that Haker has agreed to sell us is the October 6th, 2022 quote. And so it's actually has a little bit more bells and whistles on that one than the original one we ordered. And also good news is it's $9,000 less. So you can't beat that. And then the best part is that that unit will arrive at end of this year. So come January, we would have our third cleaning crew in operational. So staff is seeking the boards to direct me, the general manager, to sign a purchase order to acquire the new Vector, which is the 2112i combination sewer cleaning from Haker.
Does the board have any questions? Director Eccles?
Yeah, thank you. Better and less money.
Probably that, right?
Kind of a no-brainer, but I gotta at least ask. If I understand correct, so this is a unit that we've been leasing from them, right?
No, it's a brand new unit. It's going to come off the factory line. So they brought a brand new unit off the factory line that they were going to use as one of their rentals. So it hasn't been used. So instead of them, they're going to sell it to us
Okay,
instead of using it for their rental fleet.
so it is brand spanking
Brand new,
new,
yeah,
bells,
factory line,
whistles. Okay, thank you.
Move for approval. Is that the purchase order 2112I?
Yes, correct.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I at the end is a BMW.
No, it's American made.
Okay, we'll go on to engineers reports. Mark, receive and file the district engineers report and capital improvement project status.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a quick summary. We finished 4 projects while I was out in South Africa. We're in the process of bidding the second siphon project. And the last thing I wanted to report to you is that the Eldon Force Main Redundancy Project, we have a request for proposals out on the street from engineering firms to design that project. Not sure what things are going to look like in the future, but I do want to add that we are planning to bring an informational item on this Eldon Force Main project to the November study session. Depending on our discussions with you and the board, we may bring it then another item for budgeting this project either to the November board or sometime in December. So with that, I'm assuming that you've read my engineering report, but I'm open to answering any questions, and that concludes my verbal report.
Do any of the directors have questions?
Yeah, 4 projects got done while you were gone.
Yes.
I
Yes.
interpreted we were doing work in South Africa. It's like,
Well,
I'm sorry, Director Schaefer, Vice President Schaefer. These projects have been started several
make him
months
a-
ago and they
make him
just
just-
finished.
You know, if we don't give anybody who gets to go on a Atari safari or whatever. Thank you, Mark. Thanks for understanding my sense of humor.
Well, I was going to make the same comment, but
Yeah.
next item is item number 2, Mark, project 328 ductile iron pipe rehab phase 2.
Yes, we completed the ductile iron pipe rehab project phase 2. As part of completing the projects and releasing the bonds and paying the contractor their last payments and all that fun stuff, we have to file a notice of completion with the county recorder's office. Before you is an item to do just that. And so there's 3 items that I'm asking for your approval on tonight. One is to accept the improvements on the project 328 ductile iron pipe rehab phase 2 projects as completed, and the districts will file a notice of completion. Exonerate the labor and material bonds 35 days after the notice of completion has been recorded. And the last thing I'm asking you to do is exonerate the faithful performance bond 1 year after the notice of completion is recorded. We do have another item that's related to the DIP project. It's phase 3. And I could provide you with more information on all the phases, or I can talk more about phase 3 when we do that next item. That concludes my report.
You need approval for this?
Yes, I'm asking for, I guess, action on those 3 items.
Make a motion to approve project 328, phase 2, phase 3, and project 335 sewer siphon, phase 1.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
I,
Any opposed? Go on to,
I'm sorry, before you move away from Mark, may I ask him a question?
sure.
Hey, Mark, we were talking the other day, I think at the study session or whatever, I had mentioned a new client of mine that is in the middle of redoing essentially her whole collection system inside the house. And, you know, the slab inside her house is all torn out, and she showed me some pictures of it's cast iron that was used, right?
Yes, typically, the city port or this portion that's under the building and associated with the building project is cast iron. For many, many years, our agency has required clay pipe on the outside of the house.
So do we still allow contractors to use cast iron?
Yes, I don't think they want to do that. Some are still using clay, but by far, most contractors are using plastic on the outside. I won't speak to inside of the house because that's a city jurisdictional thing.
Okay.
But I will say that the California Plumbing Code does allow cast iron pipe.
I think I told you the other day, the picture she showed me, this stuff might as well not be there. It was completely good. Now her home was built in 1960, so obviously there's an attrition over age, but if these contractors are still it's like using copper and putting it through the middle of concrete, it's gonna fail.
Well, though, that's what, 60 years? I mean, it's been in service now. It's a long time.
Well, you make a good point. So I was just curious, the plumbing code hasn't changed saying, hey, you can't use cast iron, you've got to use something else.
No, but again, I'll say most contractors now are using ABS on the inside. They will use ABS or some other types of plastics on the outside of the house.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for your indulgence. I appreciate that.
Okay, we'll go on to item G, treasurer's reports. Approve the investment report for the month of September 2022. Do any of the directors have any questions? Oh, okay.
Well, I don't know, Mark, if you've got something, to present, I'd be curious if there's maybe some highlights of the report that we should be aware of.
Absolutely. This is your quarterly review of the investment portfolio. In the markets today, the Dow closed today at 31,499. It was up 417 on the day. Still down a lot from the beginning of the year, 48 or more than 4,800 or down 13%. Inflation for the month of September was up 8.2% again. The Fed, in an effort to ease inflation, has increased 5 times already, totaling 3% in Fed funds rate increases. In November, the Fed is expected, or the markets have built in that the Fed's going to increase again about what they've been doing, about another 0.75%. Your portfolio at September 30th is earning 1.115%. That's up from 0.91% in June and up from 0.62% at the beginning of the year. There's been no investment activity this past month. Really just there's no calls that are happening because the markets the rates are going up. We have a fixed income portfolio, and so there's no incentive for the Feds to be calling those securities back because we're holding lower rate securities. I did want to give an update also on the California class that you guys approved back in June. At that point in time, we added it as an investment option to what we could invest in. To date, no investment has been made in class. I had mentioned that we were going to hold off for a while until we did something with them. I'm anticipating that when our first annual charge comes in the late November, beginning December timeframe, that we'll probably place some funds at that point in time with class. But just what class has done since they've opened up, there's now $156 million under investment with class, and their daily rate is at 3.12%, which is about 200 basis points more than what we're getting at LAIF at this point in time. So they're doing very well. And there's a lot of funds already under investment. I imagine by the next month and a half before we look at putting a very small amount with them, the dollars under investment are going to go up.
When did you say that we were going to make that investment?
It would probably be after we get our first large chunk of the annual charge, which would probably be after the December 10th property tax date. So it'd be
Okay.
probably by the end of the calendar year.
Mark, real quick. Refresh me, LAIF's pretty liquid. I mean, we have pretty good accessibility to LAIF funds. But I mean, that's the way it's always been. Is class have that same, wasn't that part of what we talked about, that they're going to be as liquid, or as, maybe liquid's not the right word, accessible is LAIF?
That's correct. LAIF, we can get, if we contact LAIF by 10 a.m. That in the morning, we get funds the same day.
Okay.
It ain't going to be the same with class.
Okay. Thanks, Bob.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Attorney's reports.
I'm going to move
Oh,
approval of the September quarterly investment report.
I'll second it.
All in
Also, I just wanted to make a comment that CSDA members are so happy with class right now. They are very happy. They've been really getting their money in and out and doing just what we thought they would be doing. Just a comment.
and you seconded the motion?
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Anyone need to abstain? And we go on to the attorney's reports.
Mr. President, if I could give a little brief comment on some legal developments. This is usually a routine matter, but as you may know, Governor Newsom intends to end the COVID emergency on February 28th. So thereafter, we'll no longer be able to avail ourselves of the procedure under AB 361 because that's the one we currently operate under, because you require that the law requires that an emergency exists and that the board makes certain findings. That law will end on January 1, 2024, but the end of the emergency proclamation effectively kills our ability to use that law. So as we reported to you before, AB 2449 will fill in for 2 years, allowing partial remote meetings as long as a quorum is present at the physical location. And that will, there's more limited exceptions for why you can miss a meeting. And you're also limited on how many times you can miss. So that will probably guide us for the next 2 years. And then we'll have to see what happens after that. If nothing happens, then we're back to the old teleconferencing rules, which required hotels to be posted with the agenda in Minnesota for what's happening here and access to the meeting in Minnesota and all of that. So that's the status of the meeting requirements under the COVID rules. If I could just tell you about a couple of matters after you vote on the remote meeting resolution, I have a couple more matters to report on.
Okay, do we have a motion on,
I'll move resolution 2022-973 authorizing remote meetings.
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Anybody need to abstain?
I have a question. But when did you say that the 3 members have to be present? What date does that start?
Well, that will start, if we go with that procedure, that's going to start the day after February 28th, which I assume is going to be March 1, because it's not a leap year, I don't think. And
Have to make sure we
and
have
then
3, we have to have 3 members present,
Yes,
In order even,
physically present.
physically present.
we have to
This
have 3
location.
here, but if someone's zooming,
That's okay.
they can't zoom unless we have 3 people here,
Yes.
right?
And the people zooming have to have specified reasons why they're not at the meeting.
Alan, did you say you had?
Yes, yes, Mr. President. I'm not sure if you've heard this one before, so I just want to give you a little briefing on a couple of matters. We're going to put all of this in your selected laws memo so that it will be more clear and concise and readily available for you in the first of the year with all the other new laws that go into effect. But I just wanted you to be aware of the Brown Act provision about social media and communicating on social media. And this one has been around for a few months, but it requires that you not use, you can go on social media and participate in that as long as the majority of the members of the legislative body do not use the internet-based social media platform to discuss matters within the subject matter of your jurisdiction. A member may also not respond directly to any communication regarding the subject matter of the jurisdiction that's made, posted, or shared with another member of the legislative body. So just be aware of that. And if you have a specific question about it, please get in touch with me or Noelani about that.
No, Alan, I'm sorry, while you're on that, just out of curiosity, because the way I heard it may not be correct, but maybe is. If President Uten posts something in one of the open forums on Facebook and I comment and Vice President Schaefer comment, that's a violation.
Yes.
But if President Uten posts something on whatever, none of us comment, but we all have visibility to it, is that also a violation?
No, I think that's not a violation.
So as long as we don't comment, there's also for us people over 40 who aren't on Insta and Twitter and all that, but we still like our Facebooks. What if we like it or dislike it or put that little heart? That same thing as commenting?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you.
You had it, you nailed it. You had it, you paid attention to whoever taught you. And then I think I already told you about the Levine Act. So this is a new world. It used to be that only appointed people with a campaign contribution could not vote on that matter before them. Electeds were always accepted from that law. You're no longer accepted as an elected if you get a campaign contribution. You have a disqualification provision starting January 1, 2023. And then lastly, SB 1100, we have new authority to remove an individual for disrupting a meeting. They must actually disrupt the meeting and you have to warn them first before you can cause their removal. So those are the new laws I think you should be aware of before we can get that selected laws memo to you. Hopefully, we don't have to use the last one. We have had occasion where it might have been used.
Who gets to remove them?
The biggest guy in the block.
Why is everybody looking at me? So I guess what I'm leading to is, and we've had occasion to have security at some of our meetings. We don't anticipate having to have someone here all the time to do that, do you? I mean.
So what you would, most likely
I
what
can
you would
remove
do,
her.
She's like, wait.
you'd recess the meeting and then wait till that
Okay,
person
good,
leaves.
that's a good
And you
alternative.
said, we're not gonna start the meeting till this person
Okay.
leaves. And then, you know,
They seem to be doing that a lot in the LA City Council chambers lately. I mean, it's sort of the same thing, huh?
I mean, worst comes to worst, you know, if you recess the meeting, the person still doesn't leave, you call police and have them escort out the building.
In the meantime, Art's closest to the exit. He's out.
I'd be up front, taking care of business.
Protected me, right?
The biggest challenge, of course, is the biggest change or clarification is based on that Acosta versus Costa Mesa case, which was
Yeah,
created a lot of trouble, but the court said, you know, even if they give the finger or do a Nazi salute or something like that, that's not enough unless it actually disrupts the meeting. Now, if he's doing it in your face and you can't talk or something, that would be different, but just in the back of the room doing some kind of a gesture, probably not disrupting the meeting.
watching you, Karen.
And the other requirement is you have to give a warning.
Wow. Is that it, Alan?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Al.
Go on to local meetings. The Orange County Sand District board meeting will be this month, but you know, some fun things that they're going to discuss is I think they have an ad hoc meeting. Well, I know they have an ad hoc meeting to replace the general manager. So the chair, vice chair, and a few other I think, maybe a past chair, 5 members are discussing how to go about replacing the general manager. And I don't believe, I also know that we are, or they're generally going to go out on the street, you know, and interview capable internal candidates as well as get access. The thing that they have to clarify is when someone meets with the chair, I think they're called the chairman of the board. Does that qualify for a meeting? And they have not had to answer that question in the past. So that's a new nuance that they're going to work on clarifying. Other than that, they were basically, they just had a Citizens Academy. Probably did any staff attend the Citizens Academy? So they basically it was an explanation of, you know, how Orange County Sand works. And I think they thought it was a success.
Where are they replacing the general managers? I missed something.
He's retiring.
Oh, I thought it was juicier.
He's retiring.
Oh, well, yeah. No, I hired him in 1984 and they're wearing him out. No, he's a very superb individual. And the rest of it was just pump station collection system and other things. They do purchase electricity through what they call direct access because they use a massive amount of electricity. Probably 70% of that electricity is internally generated, but they still need excess energy. So they're in some sort of a cooperative to get better rates on energy. So it'll be an interesting meeting. As SARFA,
Next month. I was hoping you could attend in my place.
Yeah, hopefully they'll give me, well,
You'll get a.
I get a notice. Okay. And Secretary Schaefer is doc.
I don't have anything to report. in this
Okay, we'll
time.
go on. Mike, let's see, oh, it's CSDA. You have a report on CSDA?
Well, I've been going by Zoom with CSDA and we're just kind of wrapping up this year and then going into elections and what's going to happen with next year.
Okay.
And we do have a new president, and that's Elaine Mangers. And she will be taking over the reins, but not until, this year finishes.
Okay, thank you. Mike, do you have a report on SDRMA?
Nothing really to report. Excuse me, we have our November board meeting next week, so I'll be in Sacramento on Wednesday and Thursday of next week.
Any other meetings that the directors need to report on for reimbursement?
I'll submit mine to the district.
Okay. Thank you. Oral communications and directors, well, old business. Is there any old business that we need to?
I had a comment. Did you say that November 8th would be our next study session? That's election night.
Election day.
Oh,
Vote early.
does everybody feel comfortable with that or?
It'd be a good way to start the days, to get your mind off the elections. If you're so inclined to.
Okay, I just wanted to make a comment on that because I didn't know if you dove into it to that much.
Any new business that we need to consider? Or any oral communications and directors' comments?
Yeah,
Dr. Eccles?
thank you, Mr. President. One request going back, and I forgot to ask earlier, but on the next round of negotiations with CRR and R and the things, I would just request between now and December, whenever we finally look at this, that, this guy over here went to law school, I didn't. And I've read enough construction contracts over my time where I always miss something. And I go, oh crud. There's ways to wordsmith certain things in contracts. I just would love a summary of, from your perspective, say, hey, everything looks great. Or, hey, and I know you're going to review it, but just maybe a quick staff report from you just saying, hey, look out for this word or that word, or everything looks great, just something, because sorry, I've been burned too many times in my business. And so that would be appreciated. And then welcome back to Secretary Schaefer. Great to have someone sitting by me again. So welcome back. And then everyone go out and enjoy trick or treating. And I'll see everyone walking around. I want to see what everyone's dressed up as. So happy Halloween and thank you.
Okay, if there are no other oral communications or directors' comments, this meeting is adjourned.